Welcome to the best gambling show on the internet. This is the home of the money pick. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Vegas spread picks week 1 will drop September 4th. I'm ready to get the money this year. Patreon is now up and running. Last year was phenomenal. And you can go back and look at the money picks. Look at the record on Patreon. We are ready to go. You guys asked me for this video. I'm going to give it to you. NFL preview of this new season. I'm going to do it in power rankings, but I want everyone to remember my evaluations are in constant evolution. This is not to take to the grave. Now, I don't want you to overreact if a team starts slow when you know they're a good team, but you have to watch the film every week, and these will evolve. It's one reason why I don't like NFL previews, but I'm getting into it because the fans asked me. At number 1 in the NFL right now, I have the Buffalo Bills. At AFC East, they're minus 225. I think that's pretty safe. I think the only thing that can really hurt and affect that is an injury to Josh Allen. And over under 11.5 wins, that is also one very, very scrumptious with the extra game in the NFL. And the Bills are the best team because I feel like they're the most balanced team. Now, are they going to run the ball all that great? No. Am I a little bit worried about Brian Daboll leaving? Sure I am. But I think they showed during training camp they're going to try to run it a little bit more. And when you add Von Miller to a defense, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's firepower, and you can't quantify it. I know people want to hate on it because Von Miller isn't in his prime. Give me Von Miller going off the edge 30, 35 times a game in a shootout. Bills games, when they're playing very good teams, often turn into shootouts. Let's be realistic about it. And that's when defensive ends come into play. Ed Oliver, Von Miller on that front, that's something I like. Secondary still intact. A little bit worried about Tre'Davious White's health, but they're saying he's going to be back week 3, week 4. Next team, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, when we look at this NFL, the AFC has so many dogs, so many great teams this year. In the NFC, you got the Bucs, and then you got the rest. And when you look at the Bucs, you talk about Tom Brady, and I know people were concerned about that little rendezvous for 11 days, and I did raise an eyebrow, but I never got concerned about it. He comes out against the Colts, throws a 30-yard out on the dime to Julio Granite-Stone Jones, and then I think that calmed everyone down. I really like this Tampa Bay defense. It's kind of the same with Green Bay. They've made really good defenses really quietly. The over-under for Tampa Bay's win is 11.5. The NFC South is minus 275. I would not pull the trigger on that, even though I think they win the NFC South. These O-line issues are going to bite the Bucs. This interior of the O-line is all hurt. We know they bring in Shaq Mason. Shaq Mason is an absolute beast up front. I'm excited about that. Hainsey, the second-year player from Notre Dame, he's going to come in and he's going to play pretty good. But, you know, when you lose people like Ryan Jensen, it's just something you can't just replace and quantify. The Bucs will be a work in progress, but this offensive line will get better as the year goes on. I really like this receiving core. Do I need to say anything about that? I got the Bucs at 2. Next team, and this is where the surprises are going to come. I got the Los Angeles Rams, and I know I'm going to take some heat for it, but I took heat last year when I made a video during the preseason when I said bet Rams over 10.5 on the futures. Made a specific video for it. And their over-under wins is 10.5 right now. And when I look at this Rams team, I look at a team that's ready to go. I look at a team that has run past balance. To win the NFC West, it's plus 125. We know that's an absolute Serengeti, almost like the AFC West, although the AFC West is on a complete and different level. Listen, when I look at the Rams, I know everyone's concerned about Matt Stafford's elbow. Listen, I saw him slanging it in training camp. He's good to go. He's a guy. He takes that Toradol. He gets out there every Sunday. No OBJ is a little bit of a concern because what carried them to the Super Bowl last year, besides their pass rush, was Cooper Kupp and OBJ. They're the new peanut butter and jelly. I never seen two wide receivers combined so well, and it was uncoverable at times. But let's not rule out OBJ coming back. He needs to heal from the injury. I'm not ruling out him going back to the Rams. A lot of people think he's going to go to the Packers. I don't see it. And when you look at the Rams, you have to remember McVay is a great coach. McVay is a force of nature. Everyone thought they were done when they lost on Monday night to the 49ers mid-season. They weren't. McVay builds as the season goes on like every great coach. At number 4, we got the Green Bay Packers. Now, I'm going to take heat for this as well. And I do think the Packers are extremely vulnerable this year. But let me break it down simple for you. Aaron the Game Rodgers. I'm extremely concerned about their wide receiving position. Dobbs, we're starting to hear hype about him, but there's just is no dogs in that wide receiving core. The tight end core is decent. Offensive line should be good, but when is Bakhtiari going to come back? But outside of the Saints, I feel like the Packers might have the best defense in football. I really, really do. Over under 10.5 wins. That could be, they'll probably get to 11 because a player like Aaron the Game Rodgers, he's worth 10 wins in this league. And then you put him with a great defense. Green Bay is going to have to win games different types of way. And I think they're ready to do that, although they will struggle and they will be vulnerable. Green Bay is a great regular season team. If I was making this for the postseason, they would not be number 4. But we bet the regular season, so we have to keep it in line with that. NFC North, for them to win the NFC North is minus 155. I'm not loving those odds. I'm not loving that gamble all that much. Listen, there's not a lot to say about the Packers. They made some great defensive moves, but a lot of these wide receiving moves, Sammy Watkins, he's going to be all right until he gets hurt. And the Green Bay Packers aren't a team that have another move up their sleeve in the pocket. They're not going to do it. I got them at 4, and maybe I shouldn't. At number 5, we got the next team. And this one was grinding at me for weeks. I got the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, let me just give a little bit of caution to anyone who is loving the Chargers this year. On paper, if you break down Herbert, if you break down them adding Khalil Mack, making some good improvements to the offensive line, you can make the argument the Chargers are the best team in football. Easy. Brandon Staley is a liability. That's why they're at 5. So right now they're plus 250 to win the AFC West. They're over under 10.5 wins. I would suggest anyone who wants to bet futures in the AFC West to lay off, because that division is too cutthroat. It's too eat dog. It is absolutely insane, and someone is going to fail that you don't think is going to fail. I love Herbert. Herbert's the reason here. This kid is turning into an absolute star and force of nature in front of our eyes. But like I said, go watch that film. Look at when they got blown out at the Texans. Look at that last game to get in the playoffs against the Las Vegas Raiders. Look at those games, and there were other games as well. Brandon Staley is a liability. The media loves him. He talks in good public PC speak, but that doesn't win football games. Big, nasty dudes win football games. And Chargers, they need to stop the run better. If they don't stop the run, then I'll be completely wrong putting them at number 5. At number 6, we got the Kansas City Chiefs, Big Red Andy Reid. Listen, there are some serious concerns. I'm concerned about Juju Smith-Schuster's knee. I'm concerned about losing Tyreek the Thrill Hill. I'm concerned about all of that. Pat Mahomes, he's gotten the best rhythm in preseason, better than any quarterback in this league. I'm not a big preseason guy. It means absolutely nothing, but rhythm means something, especially if you're throwing passes in this cutthroat league. I think the Chiefs start hot. Now, are they going to be able to continue? That's a great question, because this AFC West is an absolute gauntlet. Right now, it's AFC over under 10.5 wins. Right now, it's plus 160 for them to win the AFC West. They are still the favorite. They are still the lead dog in the AFC West. Really, the big thing is, what do they do at running back with Clyde Edwards-Helaire? And are they going to get the production they need out of the wide receiving core? That is my main question. I think they figured it out. I think they're productive on offense, but we saw them stall. Second half against the Bengals, there were lots of instances. Teams kind of figured out how to play the Chiefs' offense, man-to-man with 2 safeties deep. We'll see if they have an antidote for that. A lot of people say that was the reason they got rid of Tyreek Hill. Next team at number 7, I got the San Francisco 49ers. And when I'm looking at this team, I didn't like the way this Jimmy G situation went down. I still think Trey Lance is the guy. I still think Shanahan has all the chips in adding this difference to the offense. So I want to make that quite clear. But Jimmy G does feel like a security blanket, and I wonder if that security blanket is going to affect this team. I really do. Over under 9.5 wins. I love that. I think they're going to have a really strong running attack, really strong offensive line, and I don't know if I think this might be the best defense they've had there in quite some time. They always play pretty good defensive football, but I really feel like this is the best defense they've had in some time. Trey Lance adds a little bit of confusion. Trey Lance adds that little bit of a joker card that maybe that offense needed. Maybe they needed a bit more explosion. Maybe they needed someone to roll the dice and take 3 or 4 more chances instead of checking it down like Jimmy G. The system of Shanahan makes his teams competitive, and they will be around. They will be in the playoffs. They will be sniffing around for a ring. Will they get it? It comes down to how Trey Lance develops. As of right now, Shanahan's sending a signal he's not developing the way he thought. At number 8, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. King Burrow. I labeled him that his rookie year. I'm all in on the Burrow hype, and right now it's plus 175 to win the AFC North. I think they do win it. It's over under 9.5 wins. That makes sense to me, even though that AFC North is a pretty damn good division. We all know that. I got to talk about what they did on the offense line. They completely revamped this offensive line, and I was surprised the Brown family did it. We know the Brown family isn't too reactive. The Bengals don't like spending a lot of money, but they came out and they revamped that offensive line. This offensive line has went from one of the worst in the league to above average. I really like what they did there, and these 3 receivers, how do you quantify that? How do you deal with these 3 receivers? Every single defense coordinator who sees the Bengals on their schedule, He's going to wonder, how am I going to cover them? And the thing the Bengals don't have that other teams don't is Burrow has balls the size of grapefruits. He will throw it down the field. He will throw it into a tight spot. That's what the Bengals need to do to win games. The defense, we'll see how they are. They got Jesse Bates back. If the defense provides the same pass rush they did the second half of last year, the Bengals should win that division. Let's be real about it. At number 9, this is going to be a surprise. I got the Las Vegas Raiders. Another AFC West team, surprise. Right now, it's plus 8.5 wins for them. Plus 650 to win the AFC West. I think it's moved up to plus 700 last time I saw it. Listen, Josh McDaniel, there's going to be growing pains. And this isn't going to be easy. There's nothing easy about life in the AFC, especially about life in the AFC West. But I'm trying to look at this objectively. I am trying to really look at this objectively. I think the Raiders might have the best offense in football. I really do. Anyone who watches the film knows, okay, Carr's not top 5, but he's also not as average as people make him out. I think he will thrive in McDaniel's system. Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and if Waller can stay healthy, that's too dynamic. I think that's harder to cover than Cincinnati's group. I mean, because there's so much variation. There's so many route combinations you can use. Now, the offense line's going to have problems. But the big thing about McDaniels, we all need to remember, we all think of Tom Brady, we all think of throwing it. I think the run system's going to be good. We saw them get rid of Alex Leatherwood. They really needed to get rid of that guy. The offensive line is going to struggle. I could see them making a move before the first week of the season. We got a few days. I think they kind of need to. The defense is going to be average, but adding Chandler Jones to hunt with Crosby is going to help their secondary. Secondary is the weakness. We know that. But when you got 2 good defensive ends, that makes a big bit of difference. And did I mention the Las Vegas Raiders are all in? A lot of people are saying they shouldn't have went all in this year. I was shocked when they got Chandler Jones. At number 10, I got the New Orleans Saints Nolans. And this is one I'm sure I'm going to take heat. The Raiders Saints at 9 and 10, I'm going to take a ton of heat for. So I'm going to just get in here and explain why. Yes, this is a quarterback-driven league. Yes, this is a league about putting up points. But let's not forget that you have to play defense in this league. You have to have a good offensive line in this league. Saints got a great offensive line. I like the new kid they got, Tyler Penning. I believe that's his name. He's an absolute dog. And when I'm looking at the Saints, I think this is the best defense in football. Packers might have an argument. There's a few others. But at the very worst, they're top 5 defense. You add Honey Badger to that mix going back to his home. I absolutely love it. Now, plus 325 to win the NFC South, I would not touch that. Plus 8.5 wins. Money. I'm going over on the 8.5 wins, and maybe that's one reason why I put them in so early. I want everyone to know that's the future bet. The future bet of last year was the Rams over wins. This year is going to be the Saints over that 8.5. Kamara looks like he won't be suspended this year, and people need to go watch that film of Jameis Winston last year. The reason why the Saints didn't make the playoffs last year was because famous Jameis Winston got hurt. He was playing more conservative. He was playing with a higher intellect, and that's what he needs to do. They need to run the ball, use play action. Mike Thomas is back. They got a rookie from Ohio State who's absolutely popping in the preseason. I like what the Saints are doing, and I think Dennis Allen, I'm not saying he's an offensive genius like Sean Payton, but he's not changing a whole lot. And I think you can see everyone in the locker room feels a little bit rejuvenated. Sean Payton is one of those Parcells guys. He does great on you. Dennis Allen, a fresh voice. Don't judge what he did like 6 years ago when he was the Raiders coach. That was an absolute mess. I really like the Saints defense. At number 11, this one pains me to pick it. The Baltimore Ravens. Listen, I've been unimpressed with them the last 3 or 4 years. And I can't say I've been too wrong. Plus 10.5 wins this year. Plus 145 to win that AFC North. You got Lamar. Lamar's coming back. He's playing for that contract. They're not going to get the deal done. Lamar and Mark Andrews are absolute dogs. I really think Mark Andrews is the best tight end in this league. Lamar Jackson is obviously the best playmaker in this league. If you just judge playmaker for playmaker, maybe Tyreek Hill could raise the hand. But other than that, it's Lamar Jackson's world. There's just a solid team that are solidly coached, and they're not going to flash you. J.K. Dobbins coming back is really going to help. It's really going to make a difference. But the offensive line isn't as good as it was, and I feel like this defense, particularly in the front seven, isn't what we think of when we think of Ravens football, and it's been deteriorating the last 3 or 4 years. Same with the offensive line. I think the Ravens get this with Lamar Jackson magic, a little bit of Harbaugh magic, and they're going to grade on teams, and that's what they do. I don't love the style, but ugliness wins in football. At number 12, let's ride! We got the Denver Broncos. Man, has there anyone been cutting more promos this training camp and preseason than Russell America Wilson? They're plus 260 to win the AFC West. They're plus 10.5 wins. I don't think this defense is as great as people are making it out to be. Everyone's acting like this is an automatic top 5, top 7 defense. I really felt like they needed to rope Von Miller back in and bring him to run with those Cowboys. I'm not in love with this defense. The secondary is very tricky. The secondary is very good. But a big part of that defense's success last year was scheme-driven, scheme-derivated. Of course, you got Nathaniel Hackett in there. You get Russell Wilson in there. Tim Patrick already hurt. That's going to be a big blow. One of the most underrated receivers in this league. I don't know how great the Broncos are going to run the ball. That's another thing that I'm trying to shoot out at. Broncos are going to be dangerous, but I think they start slow. Of course, I don't think they're going to lose to the Seahawks, but I think they start slow and they get their energy, get their vibe and rhythm near the end of the season, and I don't think that's going to be good enough. Russell America Wilson has been fading the last 3 second halves of seasons. That's why I'm waiting to see, and I wonder how he's going to play. And I wonder, out of all the AFC West quarterbacks, is my guy Russell America Wilson getting a little bit too much attention? Next team, we got the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this is controversial because I do have them over some AFC teams that are legitimate threats. The Eagles got holes, man. But let me just be frank about this. I get sick of the Hurts hate because while you guys were hating on Hurts, we were winning money picks while that kid put up 150 yards passing, give me 80 on the rushing, give me no turnovers. We were winning bets. People were complaining. We were winning bets. People were calling for Gardner Minshew. Hurts isn't a good stat player. He's not sexy on the eyes, and he's not going to slide arm it 20 yards down the field. He's not going to give you a Mahomes no-look pass. He's not going to give you that. But he gives you solid 80s, 90s football. He's got a damn good offensive line. He's got a coach who is a little bit of a meathead, but meatheadness isn't the worst thing in the NFL, especially in the era when it has gotten maybe a little bit away from the principles of the game. Eagles are plus 9.5 wins, plus 150 in the NFC East. I know people are trying to hype up the Giants right now, and we're even seeing some Commanders hype. And listen, that division is wide open, especially with what the Cowboys are doing. But this will be the Eagles' division. I really like what they did on defense this year. They just got a really good nickel from the Saints when no one was looking a few days ago. I mean, this Phillies defense, Philadelphia Eagles defense, is the best they've had in 3 or 4 years. Offensive line is still intact. And when you add A.J. Brown, it gives Hurts a little bit of something to work with. It gives him more. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, no one's talking about it, with a pretty good tight end. And listen, if Hurts doesn't get it done, man, he's out after this year. They're going to bring in someone. I really like what the Eagles are doing. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a little bit Ravens-like. It's not going to jump off the film, but they're going to grind on people, and grinding works in this league. At number 14, it pains me to say this. It absolutely pains your boy to say this. I got the Miami Dolphins, begrudgingly. We know what Tua Tagovailoa is. We've won a lot of money betting against him. With that being said, we have to show respect to what they've put together on offense and the vibe Mike McDaniel is bringing to this team. We just have to take down our biases and look at what's going on. Plus 8.5 wins, plus 475 AFC East. Listen, we know the AFC is tough. The Dolphins could have a great season, play really well, better than people think, and still not make the playoffs. That's life in the AFC this year. The defensive secondary is very good. I do have questions about the run defense, and those questions have been evident for like the last 2 or 3 years. And I wonder how they're going to be able to run the rock. They've made some improvements on offensive line this year. I feel like McDaniel helps the quarterback more than previous coaches they've had. So when I'm looking at the Dolphins, man, I think they're going to... Tyreek Hill and Waddle, that's very, very hard to cover. And you saw Tyreek Hill in that last preseason game. 2 plays, like 85 reception yards. That's just the type of guy he is. That deep ball from Tua was absolutely terrible and horrendous. But at a certain point, we have to give the receivers the respect and understand that you don't need perfectly thrown balls when a receiver is a dog. I still think Tua hurts the Dolphins, and I think next year they will have a new quarterback. But he's not going to be as bad and just straight put money into our pocket like he was before, especially against good opposition. Remember when they played the Titans and everyone was telling us Dolphins would win it and we won a lot of money with the Titans? We're not going to have as easy bets like that. But, things evolve always. Let me get a glass of water, man. I've been going straight without a break. Okay. At number 15, it's going to make some people mad. I got the Cleveland Browns. And this is just based on the roster, and I'm not trying to factor in what the hell's going to happen with Jacoby. How is Jacoby going to carry this? I like Jacoby better than other people, but he does have his limitations. He is like a poor man's Jimmy Garoppolo. So that's essentially what you're getting. Deshaun Watson comes back week 12 against the Texans. Wink, wink, NFL. plus 375 to win the AFC North, plus 8.5 wins. It's going to be close. Their schedule's an absolute gauntlet. But I got to just say why I'm giving the Browns respect, and I'm at a wait-and-see approach on them. Amari Cooper is very, very good. I like him and Peoples-Jones. You got two very good running backs. You got Wyatt Teller, maybe the best offensive guard in the league outside of Lawson on the Colts. I just think the Browns will win in the interior, and that's going to give them a shot to win. It's very hard to match up to the Browns in the interior. I like their secondary. Really, the only way the big weakness of this Browns team is who's going to play quarterback the first 11 weeks, Jacoby. And also, are they going to be able to stop the run better? Because they can rush the passer, but can they stop the run? The Browns are a really hard team to analyze. Just with the strength in the trenches, I had to put them at 15. I wonder how Kareem Hunt will be. He wanted to get traded. I wonder how that will play out. Number 16, we're halfway through. I got the Indianapolis Colts. I got tons of questions about the Colts. This wide receiving core is terrible. I was beating the table all last year saying that, Michael Pittman's not a real number one. Michael Pittman needs help. They need a number two. Mo Alley Cox isn't enough at tight end to help them. And they did nothing. They get Matt Ryan. They got Jonathan Taylor. They got one of the best run games in the league. Plus 9.5 wins. They're up to minus 140 in the AFC South. And they're at 140 in the AFC South more because of the Titans' direction than their own direction. I've been concerned with some of the things I've seen out of Colts land. New defensive coordinator, starting offensive line getting beat up by the Bills' second and third string defensive line. Lots of concerning things, and Matt Ryan's never found heat yet. And he's played a ton in the preseason. It's just when you're relying on receivers like Paris Campbell and Michael Strachan, you're going to have issues. And I'm not quite sure why they weren't in the mix for another wide receiver. I don't know what they're looking at. Even with that being said, top 5 offensive line, best running back in the league, they're going to go. But we'll see what Matt Ryan does and if Matt Ryan has enough support. Honestly, I could see them winning that division with 8 or 9 wins at this point. It's nuts. And that's just how the AFC is placed. Any team in the AFC West would go in and win that AFC South. Next team, maybe a little bit of homerism on my part. I got my Minnesota Vikings. And there isn't a lot of science for this. Because, yes, they got 3 stars on defense, 3 elite players, Kendricks, Hunter, Harrison, Smith. We know that. But the rest of the defense is absolutely terrible. It's absolutely pitiful. Mike Zimmer and Spielman let that degrade to a point where it's like a bottom third defense in the league. Plus 250 in the NFC North. Plus 9.5 wins. I think Kevin O'Connell adds a little bit of juice to this. I think they needed a new voice. I think they needed Zimmer to go. And I'm really excited what they can do. I just feel like at this point, Mike Zimmer was holding the team back. Kirk Cousins, he looks a little bit better this year now. Fool's gold, right? Defense is terrible, but if you get Dalvin Cook back, offensive line is a smidge better, not much. We'll see if any of the young players can step up on defense. I don't think they're going to be able to stop people. But not a lot of people are going to be able to stop people in the NFC North. The Bears' defense sucks. The Lions' defense sucks. The Vikings' defense sucks. The Packers have a damn good defense. I feel like there is some vulnerability in this NFC North, and I feel like if the Vikings can push some of the right buttons, and if O'Connell brings in that McVay scheme, a boy can dream, right? A lot of people are getting excited about the Vikings now, so there isn't much value in betting them early. But let's wait and see how the season goes. Hit the like button, share the videos. Let's get to number 18. We got the Dallas Cowboys, plus 10.5 wins, plus 140 in the NFC East. Listen, I don't think they're the favorites in the NFC East. I think the Eagles are. Now, we know Dak Prescott is dangerous. I really do respect this offense. But it was rather predictable seeing Tyron Smith get hurt. One thing that really rubbed me the wrong way was them losing Randy Gregory. I felt that was an oversight. I feel like that will kill the team on defense. It puts so much pressure on young Micah Parsons. It just really isn't fair. And I don't know if they'll be able to run the ball like Jerry Jones is saying. He keeps coming out saying this is Zeke's team. This is a run-first type team. I don't know if Dak's going to get that much help. Him and CeeDee Lamb is an absolute tour de force. No one's debating that. I'm just wondering where the help is going to come from. When's Gallup coming back? I'm not saying they will be in playoff contention, and maybe the best way to get into playoffs in the NFC is win the NFC East. But I think they're going to have some trouble. I do think they start slow. And listen, the over 10.5 wins, I think is crazy. I think their max is 10. 19, we got the Arizona Cardinals, Cliff Kingsbury, and them boys, Kyler Murray, plus 350 to win the NFC West, plus 8.5 wins. I don't think they win the NFC West, but also the Cardinals are an extremely hard team to analyze. If you've been analyzing the Cardinals the last 3 years, you would say, damn, this defense isn't good enough. Yeah, every year the defense is able to put in above average to average performances. And when their offense is humming, it's humming. But when this offense isn't in rhythm, you better put in the money pick against them like we did in the Rams in the playoffs. I don't know if this team has psychologically recovered. The 8.5 wins, they should be able to scrape to 9 or 10 in the NFC, especially with their explosion. But no, don't go there because I think this team is psychologically damaged. Hopkins is going to be out, the 6, 7, 8, I think the first 6 games could be the first 8. Yes, they bring in Hollywood, Showtime Brown, but I'm not loving it, man. I'm not loving it, and I'm not loving what they did to Kyler Murray in that contract. The fact that they had to put it in is fucking troubling, bro. Number 20. I'm sure there's some Titans fans wondering, what about us? Lawson, did you forget to scribble? I said, no, I didn't. I got the Tennessee Titans at 20, plus 180 to win the AFC South. We've seen those odds completely transform since the offseason started. Plus 9.5 wins. Listen, the only thing that gets me excited about the Titans is Mike Vrabel and Derrick Henry. Mike Vrabel's a great coach, and he gets the best out of players. Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs I've seen in my 26 years of watching football. Started watching when I was like 5 or 6. With all that being said, let's read the tea leaves, y'all. This is a rebuild. Go watch this offseason. Go examine it because I don't want to go into this for 15 minutes. But you go look at their offseason. You go look at some of the moves. And I loved Malik Willis coming out of the draft. But the drafting of him should tell you something. The way Tannehill played against the Bengals should tell you something. When you let A.J. Brown walk and say, oh, we got Robert Woods, and then look at the guy they drafted to take A.J. Brown's place. He can't even run a sprint without puking. This Titans team, they are in a rebuild, and I hate to go that way. Jeffrey Simmons is one of the best defensive players in this league that no one wants to talk about. The defense is still damn solid, but I do feel a little bit verb is lost from this team. A little bit of inspiration has been lost from this team. Maybe next year, I think we see Malik Willis this year, to be completely honest with you. Number 21. We got the no-names, the football team, the Commanders, whatever you want to call them, plus 7.5 wins, plus 500 in the NFC East. I do think they do have a little bit of a dark horse side, but I have to be honest, Carson Wentz has not played good football this preseason, and they got serious issues, and every single year, their defense underperforms. Like, you look at their defensive line on paper, they should be controlling games. They should be winning games by themselves, but they don't do it. Maybe it's Ron Rivera's scheme. Maybe it's Ron Rivera's coaching overall the team. But this team just never lives up to potential, and we can blame Dan Snyder. We can blame the stadium falling. But at the end of the day, I think Riverboat Ron deserves a lot of just blame in this all. I'm not excited. And then I was talking to AP. He's been on this show before. He's a Washington fan, and we were getting excited about Brian Robinson. 3 days later, I mean, this is the Commanders. This is the Commanders franchise in 2022. I'm going to call them the no-names because even the most loyal NFL bootlickers don't like this name. Speaking of messes, at number 22, we got the New England Patriots. I was the first person on the internet to seriously fade the Patriots 2.5 years ago and put money behind it. It's been lucrative, man. And a lot of people are just like saying, Lawson, Mac Jones. Hell, I even fell for some of that near the end of the year, the resurgence. But I think this is a great year to fade the Patriots. Plus 475 in the AFC East. Plus 8.5 wins. Man. And the AFC that's getting better, and the AFC that has just so many stars and so many great wide receivers. What are the Patriots giving Mac Jones? There's absolutely nothing at wide receiver. There's Nelson Aguilar's of the world. That doesn't help. That doesn't help a young kid. And they might fucking ruin this kid, bro. They really might ruin him. With this Matt Patricia, Joe Judge situation at offensive coordinator, I have never seen anything like it in my life, and I'm just sick of being a Bill Belichick bootlicker. Listen, we respect the hoodie. We know he's the best coach of our generation, and to be quite frank, he's probably better than fucking Bill Walsh, as crazy as that sounds. But it's just, what are you going to do with him? The offense stinks. They've been getting their ass kicked in joint practices and preseason games. Take your pick. There's just not a lot to get excited about, and I don't think we need to get excited about them just because they're the Patriots. At number 23, I love Mac Jones, though. Like, I'm really uncomfortable about the situation that Mac Jones is in. I really wish the 49ers would just pick Mac Jones because this kid, he could get ruined by Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. Yeah, I know Joe Judge and Matt Patricia are funny. We win a lot of money against them. Yes, people like that help us make money. But at a certain point, like killing a kid's career, like the Bears are doing with Justin Fields, like it's just not funny. At number 23, we got the Steelers. This is mostly due to Mike Tomlin. Offensive line stinks. Quarterback position stinks. Although, we got to give a round of applause to Kenny Pickett coming in here, making this interesting, making throws while getting hit. I actually think Kenny Pickett is better than I thought. Over 7.5 over under 7.5 wins, plus 900 AFC North. This is all about Tomlin. I think Tomlin's a great coach. I think he's phenomenal, and I think people really need to take a step back and look at this Pittsburgh roster the last 5-6 years and judge the results accordingly. He's overachieved pretty much every year, in my opinion. TJ Watt, a little bit banged up going into week 1. I mean, that's not a good omen. And last year, what was concerning is their defense could not stop the run. Yeah, they were good at sacking the quarterback, but they could not stop the run. Bad offensive line. Wide receiving core is looking good, though. So I just wonder, are they going to go Mitch or are they going to go Kenny week 1? Tomlin still hasn't made his decision, and that's why I think he's ready to go with Kenny. Everyone says he's going with Mitch, but Mitch is terrible. At number 25, maybe I got them a bit high, but this roster's good. Well, better. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 25, plus 6.5 wins, plus 800 in the AFC South. Trevor Lawrence looking better this preseason. This Peterson offense isn't the worst thing at all for our kid, Trevor Lawrence. I'm excited about it. Am I excited about overpaying Zay Jones? Am I excited about paying Christian Kirk like he's a 5-year Randy Moss? No, I'm not excited about that. But at least Lawrence has some people who can hold on to the ball, like Laviska Shenault last year, Marvin Jones. They made me get mad and angry, and I'm not even a Jags fan. The thing to remember about the Jags, this defensive line is absolutely beast-like. I mean, linebackers taking a step back, secondary's taking a step. Well, their secondary hasn't been good in years, but I think this defensive line can make this team competitive and sneaky competitive. We'll see what the offensive line does. They've looked pretty decent during preseason, but you know how that goes for the Jacksonville Jags. At number 26, we got the Carolina Panthers, plus 6.5 wins, plus 1,100 to win the NFC South. You can't talk about the Panthers without talking about Baker Mayfield. I give credit to the Panthers for making this move for Baker. It was desperate, but they needed to not start Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold does not deserve to start another game in this league, no matter how much people like to forget about his ineptitude at the position. And the Panthers, on paper, like when you load them into Madden, they're pretty damn good. Like you got Christian McCaffrey, you got 2 pretty good wide receivers. Offensive line is absolutely terrible. Defense is very, very fast. And Derek Brown is maybe the best defensive tackle that no one wants to talk about. You add Ioannidis on the front. I mean, there's things to be excited about. But I think Matt Rule stinks, and I think McCaffrey gets hurt early again, and I think this offensive line gets completely dominated, and there's not much Baker Mayfield can do, and simply, I think his skill set is more limited than people think. I think people are stuck 2 or 3 years ago. It's not going back. I think this NFC South, when you look at these defenses he has to play, man, it's not easy sledding. Falcons are easy sledding, but you know what I'm saying. Next team, we got the New York Jets. We're seeing a lot of Jets enthusiasm. Good draft, though. Got to give them a good draft. Plus 2,200 to win the AFC East. Plus 5.5 wins. But there's still Zach Wilson. There's still Robert Saleh. And I'm with Brady Quinn. I think Zach Wilson's already done. I want to like him. I want to root for him. But I actually watch Jets games, unlike 98% of the NFL football population. I lived in upstate New York my whole life. The majority of Jets fans I know, they stop watching like week 4 or 5. I actually watched every snap from Zach Wilson, and it's not getting better, people. And, you know, Flacco is the better option, but that's a bad option. Defense, we'll see how their defense is. They should be better, but they can't be worse. I don't like Salah's scheme. Last year, look at how bad this Jets defense was. They're giving up 30 or 40 for fun. Now, I think their defense really, really is bad. And I don't think their run game on offense is going to get going like people are saying. Best offensive lineman, Mekhi Becton, he's out already. I mean, Jets are what they are, man. At number 28, we got the New York Giants, Daboll, plus 7.5 wins, plus 750 to win the NFC East. I'm seeing dark horse hype. We can finally say the offensive line is a smidge better, but I think Daniel Jones is done. I actually think Daboll is going to have a quick hook. I think we see Tyrod Taylor come in here and play. And, the Giants wide receiving core doesn't look bad on paper, but we're already seeing the injuries pile up. We're already starting to see the problems. And this defense is solid, but the offense doesn't give them any help. And I actually think this defense, it gets overrated because the Meadowlands has really bad wind, especially October on, and I think that affects the visiting teams. So I think that's how the Giants defense always looks a little bit better in stats. We'll see what Daboll does. He was my favorite coaching hire of the offseason. He was the guy I wanted the Vikings to get, although I'm happy with Kevin O'Connell. At number 29, we got the Falcons, and I don't know what they're doing there. I know they were in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, and they can't control Calvin Ridley getting suspended for betting parlays. They're at plus 3,000 to win the NFC South, plus 4.5 wins. Mariota comes in, and Arthur Smith is a good coach. If you watch those Falcons games last year, he didn't have a lot of talent. Same thing this year. But he is good at managing the game and creating open spaces on the offensive side of the ball. But, man, the Falcons are going to be terrible. And we'll see how the offensive line is, because I actually think they'll be able to run it. Cordell Patterson is the reason why they're at 29, and I think they win more games than people think. Do they go over the 4.5 wins? That's going to be a tough one. I don't think the Falcons are as bad as people think, but they're damn bad. A lot of people have them at 32. I'm not going there. At number 30, we got the Houston Texans, Dougie Mills, Lovie Smith, plus 4.5 wins, plus 300 AFC South. Wow. They actually look a little bit better, and it looks like they found themselves a young running back. When I look at this Texans team, there just isn't enough talent on defense. Offensive line, I actually think, is going to be pretty decent. They got some decent young wide receivers, but there's still tons of issues on this team, specifically defense. But I'm excited about Dougie Mills. I feel like the Texans made the right choice, letting Dougie Mills play out this year instead of getting Jimmy Garoppolo or bringing in Baker Mayfield. I think it was a very, very smart option by the Texans, and they're building up their draft capital. At number 31, we got the Seahawks. This bubble's been waiting to pop sometime, right? Last year, I said it was going to pop. It pretty much popped. Plus 1,600 to win the NFC West. Over under 5.5 wins. We'll see. Pete Carroll can still coach, but this offense is going to struggle, and I know you got Lockett and DK Metcalf, but I was surprised they didn't trade them. It looks like Geno Smith will be the starter, and I do think that's the better option than Drew Lock, but that's not saying a lot, and they completely gutted this defense. I am nervous about the Seahawks being more solid on defense than they look on paper. Just bet against the Seahawks with caution. I'm not saying they're going to win, but they could be a nosy team that covers a lot. At number 32, the worst team in the NFL is the Chicago Bears. The Bears, over under 6.5 wins, which I was surprised about, but they are in the NFC North. There are some winnable games. And I missed the Detroit Lions on this list. I don't know where I put the Detroit Lions. I can't believe I missed the Detroit Lions. That's just pure disrespect from me. Pure disrespect. The Lions were at 24 for people who are asking, just after the Steelers. But man, I think Bears are the worst team in this league. Look at the way they're setting up Justin Fields to fail. Like, I like Darnell Mooney, but is that enough at wide receiver? This offensive line is the worst in the league. You don't say that about every offensive line. Like, go watch the film. The worst offensive line is the Chicago Bears. Look at what they did to Roquan Smith. I know people are excited about Everflus and him putting in the cover 2 defense and all that good stuff. The defense doesn't have that many dogs, and this offensive line is absolutely going to be eaten up. They're failing Justin Fields. They're setting Justin Fields up to fail. Hit the like button, share the videos, the best gambling show on the internet.